We have another caller on the line. Nisha has called in from Goa. Nisha, how can we help you?
Yeah, good evening. My parents have purchased a flat through resale in Goa recently, less than a year ago. It is built on a plot of land consisting of two independent flats, that is ground plus one, with an open terrace. Our flat is on the first floor. Now my query is, our sale does not have a mention about the ownership of the terrace. In this case, generally with whom does the ownership vest? And my second query is, in case of any damages to the terrace, who will be liable to pay for the damages?
Okay. Who owns the terrace? Terrace is generally common area?
Yeah, it's a common area, and therefore it will belong to the organization of all the flat purchasers. It appears that it's a very small project where only 3 of you all are occupying the premises in the building. Now, in such a case, you see, between the owners, you can earmark spaces which could be exclusively used by all, because it may not be a case where you can form a cooperative society so far as Goa is concerned. So you may have to either have a AOP formed or some sort of an organized body for maintaining the whole thing. In such a case, you can decide amongst the 3 owners as to who will use and occupy, though you may not have an absolute right to the terrace, but you could definitely have a clarification on who can enjoy the terrace. And so far as maintenance, similarly you can have an arrangement for that as well.
Right. So Anshuman, we have heard of developers, selling terrace flats, and terrace flats are sold at a premium as compared to your regular flats. Now, if you have paid that extra amount of money and bought a terrace flat, even despite that, you're saying that, somebody like Nisha would have to enter into a separate agreement with the other residents to actually prove her ownership over the terrace?
Yes, because what happens, ordinarily terraces are in the nature of common areas, as we said, because they are spaces generated as a result of being a top floor, floor above the top floor, sorry, or it would be as a result of certain FSI not being available, because of which a portion of the floor is half done or half constructed. Now, in such cases, the remainder area automatically becomes a terrace. Now, that has necessarily not consumed FSI. So, therefore, even if you are able to use it, you cannot sell it. So, if a terrace has been sold under an agreement, and if it has a confirmation that it has consumed FSI, that terrace is something which can be exclusively held by a purchaser of flat. However, if it is in the nature of planning constraints, then those terraces are such that cannot be really sold, though it could be permitted to be used exclusively, which is ordinarily the practice. Builders have in the past sold such areas with maybe by misrepresenting such purchasers, but then that has actually been illegal, and subsequently the flat purchasers had difficulty in exercising their rights as far as societies were concerned.
So right, that's another new thing that we've learned on Property Hotline today, essentially that if the developers consumed FSI in building that terrace, then the developer can go ahead and sell that terrace to somebody. So if you are buying a terrace flat, ensure that some FSI has been consumed in building that terrace for you. If there is no FSI consumed in building the terrace technically cannot be sold. And if you do end up paying a premium and buying the terrace from a developer, you cannot sell it again when you sell the flat. In fact, you will have to give it back to the housing society that is concerned.